I've played over 6 hours of Assassin's Creed Mirage so far, thanks to Ubisoft, who invited me to their Bordeaux studio in France, where I was able to meet the awesome development team and ask a lot of your questions, which I know you'd very much like to know, because we've got a huge amount of exciting new story spoiler-free info here to go through together. And just to be crystal clear, this video isn't sponsored by Ubisoft, and I haven't been paid by Ubisoft to make any of these videos. I'm just a long-time AC fan who was very fortunate enough to be invited by Ubisoft to get hands-on with the game early, and I'm here to share my honest thoughts and observations with you, good and bad. And let's first start with a general overview of what these playtests were all about, so we're all kind of on the same page and you know firsthand what this early access preview included and what to expect from Mirage. Firstly, I've completed and recorded 2 playtests that I'm going to show you here in this video. The first one was in Bordeaux for around 4 hours and 45 minutes or so, and the second one was remotely back here at the UK at my own desk for an additional 90 minutes. Now, while at Bordeaux, the team kindly took me and a few other cool dudes you may recognize around the studio, where I was able to talk to the awesome developers and ask them your questions directly at their desks while they were working on the game. I was also able to interview Sarah Bellew, the narrative director, who was really great, and more on their answers shortly, because as for the game capture you're watching right now, I was able to play 2 exclusive quests in France that were not available to others who have remote tested. Those were the Basim's quest in Alamet Castle after just joining the Assassin Brotherhood as an initiate, as well as partaking in the official Assassin induction ceremony, which I of course won't show you for spoiler reasons, but I can share my opinion on it, and I thought it was a really awesome experience. I think you'll really enjoy that. Now, on top of that, I was given 2 hours of free roam and exploration around Baghdad while in Bordeaux to try and break the game and get as much info for you as I possibly could, as well as being allowed to play 1 full black box story mission and partake in an additional bonus contract mission, which was stealth orientated and called The Botanist. Incidentally, all of this footage you're looking at right now has been recorded at 1080p at 60 FPS and is also an older build of the game. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record in higher quality for you, and that's purely because of their internal playtest setup. But what I would say is I only ran into or experienced 1 bug in 6 hours plus of playtime, and that was pretty good considering I was trying to aggro the whole map at certain points just to see what would happen. And now you know everything that's been shown to me, we can begin breaking it all down here. And let's start with combat and what you should expect of it in this game, because most importantly, did I enjoy it? And I'm going to answer as objectively as I possibly can. Yes, I honestly did, but it kind of game-changing or drastically different from our most recent AC game, that being Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Well, the answer is no, and let me explain why. Because I would describe Basim as a complete glass cannon in that he can do decent amounts of damage very quickly when using light and heavy attacks with his sword and dagger, with fist combat, by the way, only being an option at the start of the game. And the reason for Basim being so squishy is that he is designed to be two-shotted by certain enemies. So parrying and dodging are extremely important if you're out of stealth and in one-on-one combat, and that's because the devs are trying to encourage us to play like a stealthy assassin and not like a axe-wielding Viking. That said, I put close quarters combat to the test several times to understand its limitations and capabilities for you, where I purposefully aggroed lots of enemies where I wanted to see if they would kind of queue up to hit me like some of the recent and predominantly older AC games, which wasn't the case, meaning enemies will attack you quite rapidly at simultaneous times, which do end up causing severe damage to you as you can't dodge or parry every single incoming attack from multiple directions, including the attacks you can't see off screen as they're just too quick. However, the same mechanical principles apply here in Mirage from Valhalla, where incoming red attacks from enemies are unblockable, so you'll need to dodge out of the way of them, which consumes stamina that is also in very short supply in this game, so you can't kind of spam it constantly. And the highlighted yellow enemies indicates when you're able to parry them with your dagger, that then allows you to kick them back or break their defense bar, and then subsequently one-shot them with your instant kill button on your next parry rotation. On top of that, the development team have implemented a variety of new visceral kill animations that felt really satisfying to constantly trigger, with the only occasional locked-in kill screen, which was also really welcome to see. So it keeps the kind of combat flowing really well. I really like that. So in short, it is a positive experience here for me, purely because it's a lot more challenging than Valhalla, with a higher risk of death that I really like and genuinely did feel in-game, as I had to kind of run away and hide on multiple occasions if I didn't want to load my previous save. But I do want to manage your own expectations as well, that it still follows the same RPG combat mechanics in terms of parrying, dodging, light and heavy attacks with a variety of instant kill opportunities. It's just harder to thread all of that together in this game, as the enemies do rush you from all sides, which I really do welcome. Now that's combat on the ground at a one-on-one level, but what improves it for me is adding a additional layer of complexity to make it more engaging, and those are tools. And I'll give you an example here, because after pulling the whole map, I wanted to test the quality of smoke bombs, which ended up being instant assassination kills when dropping it on several enemies at once, especially if you unlock the chain assassination skill, which allows you to clear an area so unbelievably fast it's crazy overpowered, which almost, in my opinion, from what we've been told so far, countered the main intention of the game, where we're encouraged to return to stealth and try and infiltrate the area again. And that kind of becomes pointless if you can just aggro everything, drop a smoke bomb and chain kill everyone that quickly. The only caveat to this though is that you're limited to 6 smoke bombs, which do run out very fast, and not all elite enemies can be fully assassinated in the smoke, which does end up becoming a fair deterrent. Equally, I wanted to test if we could use tools such as the smoke bomb or throwing knives in the air, so kind of jumping off a building and then slowing down time while we use them, which I wasn't able to do, meaning they can only be used on the ground level or in combat, or when you're kind of high up and charging your throwing knife for an instant kill headshot, as you can see me doing here, which was really quite satisfying, to be honest with you. There's also 2 ways to use tools. The first is by opening up your tool wheel, which allows you to slow down time, and then you can select a different tool quickly. This then allows you to manually control where you want to throw or place your tool, as you can kind of see here. But you can also do this even faster by activating a tool instantly by using the quick use option, where you'll need to hold the LT or L2 button, depending upon your controller, and then press the associated button assigned with the corresponding tool to then drop it instantly on the ground, which works really well with smoke bomb spam if you're running away or in the middle of a combat pinch. But important to note here as well, this quick option mechanic doesn't allow you to throw projectiles. It's just tools that can be instantly thrown at your own feet, so no instant headshot lock and kill with a throwing knife, for example. Now, using tools in close quarters combat is advantageous, but where they really excel is when you're stealthed up to the max. And after sinking over 400 hours in Valhalla of game time, one of my key criticisms of that game was the below par stealth and detection system, and I'm super pleased to say that it is probably the biggest improvement here out of all of the mechanics in Mirage that I experienced. In fact, I actually had the pleasure of speaking to one of the senior game designers on the studio floor, Marco Maresca, at his desk, where he showed me the immense amount of detail and work that has gone into improving stealth, ensuring that enemies authentically spot you when you're not in social stealth or in cover. Whereas compared to Valhalla, if your big toe was peeking around the corner of a wall, the enemy would instantly go on full alert. And I'm pleased to say that's not the case here in Mirage in my short time with the game. And that's because social stealth, for one, feels so smooth and natural when walking through crowds. In fact, it was so solid, I almost forgot it was something I was actively trying to do, as in I would walk into a group of people and immediately melt into the crowd and disappear from the guards. So it kind of became a quick automatic thing I would do after performing something illegal in game, which was really great, as I did feel confident that the stealth system would work and that I could actually rely on it. Incidentally, you can really utilize the tools to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you whilst remaining in stealth. And using this example, I used the noisemaker tool to bring all of the enemies together, followed by a smoke bomb, which allowed me to perform a triple kill with nobody in the area, none the wiser, which was really satisfying to do and quite refreshing to do again in an Assassin's Creed game. Equally, I could have used the Assassin's Focus tool to glitch the animus and kill all the targets instantly, which was also good fun to use. And if I was to compare that move to another game, it would be the Power of Jotunheim ability from the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC in Valhalla, but it is completely optional, and I didn't use it again throughout my playthrough, as I really enjoyed combining tool variations to kill targets in different ways, with the key takeaway being I didn't feel at a disadvantage for not using it at all. In fact, I actually completely forgot about it during my playthrough a lot of the time. Now, I could go on further about stealth, which I will do in another gameplay breakdown video, but one final mention here: you can kill enemies and then hide them in various hiding spots, as their bodies will alert guards if they're just kind of left in public. So music to the ears of you old AC fans. Now, what about parkour and movement in this game? Is it good? Well, that is a double-edged sword for me, because I feel like it has been improved from Valhalla, where Basim does genuinely feel a lot faster and more responsive than Eivor, which is positive. And as you can see here, I was throwing Basim around a lot in the game to get a good feeling of the reaction of different movement turns, dodges, rolls, and sprinting. And to be honest with you, Basim did feel fast, reactive, really intuitive on a ground movement level. That said, another positive for me is the layout of the rooftops of the city, where the developers have clearly taken a great amount of care in creating various parkour routes that intermingle with one another, which means that you can easily navigate and parkour across the city rooftops, changing direction at will, but still reaching your map target, with all of these routes flowing wonderfully well together and making it easy to navigate. In fact, when you do manage to get yourself into a bit of a rhythm, the animations of the pole vault, corner swings, and rope pulleys all merge into a fluid kind of movement, and it's really pleasing to experience when it works as designed. That said, there were a few times where I would direct Basim to grab onto a ledge, jump onto a neighboring roof, or traverse onto a particular object at a certain angle, and it just wouldn't happen, which would then immediately stop that kind of awesome parkour flow state I'd got myself into. And that's not to say that it ruins the whole game or happen frequently during my playtime, because it's definitely an improvement from Valhalla, but parkour is not on an Assassin's Creed Unity level, in my opinion. So I think it's good to keep your expectations in check there, because after a while, you even start to notice that Basim's run animation feels a little bit like Eivor's in certain situations, and I'll just bring up a side-by-side comparison here so you can kind of see what I mean. So when you're not experiencing these newly crafted Basim parkour animations, then that's when I sometimes felt that I'm playing or running around in an improved Valhalla DLC or expansion. However, one of the positives that then transports me back into the game is the cloth physics during movement, especially when jumping off buildings or going for an assassination. It just looks really great, and I appreciate the detail upgrade here in this game comparatively to the cardboard kind of cloth physics from Valhalla. Now, I'll tell you one thing I really thought that was absolutely terrific, and that was the notoriety or wanted meter, because it does have a real impact on your playthrough if you don't stay on top of it. And that's because your notoriety will increase rapidly at the smallest of actions in games, such as being caught pickpocketing a civilian in the marketplace by a guard, or let's say that you're alone with a guard one-on-one, because even if nobody else is around and you're trading blows with that one NPC, that will still increase your wanted level because you're seen to be committing illegal acts in public. Now, your notoriety level can reach a max level of 3, which I found really easy to kind of fulfill quite quickly, with the first one being civilians actively pointing you out to guards. You can even actually hear them calling the guards to come and apprehend you in-game, which is a very cool detail from a world building standpoint. And the second level being an increase of archers on the rooftops, and the third being the most exciting in-game AI response, which is when the Shakira elite guard hunts you down in-game. And let me tell you, this dude hits like a freight train, as you can kind of see here. And one of the reasons why he's so difficult, because it looks like to me that he matches Basim's offensive and defensive moves in-game. I didn't come across another enemy NPC that does this. He also heals himself with potions and performs a counter unblockable attack, which does solid damage. That said, I did manage to kill him where he dropped a mercenary token, which we'll go through next, as well as healing potions and throwing knives. And when I saw his loot, to be honest with you, I was a little bit disappointed, as I was expecting something a little bit more substantial from such a challenging boss in game like an armor set or a new weapon, but it took me a few minutes to realize that by killing him, he does reset your notoriety meter entirely. So if you don't want to spend your time ripping down wanted posters or bribing heralds with your valuable faction tokens, let him come to you and reset your wanted meter after you put him down, if you feel confident in your close quarters fighting capabilities. Now, that's a nice segue onto these Kidmar tokens, because I found my playthrough to be a lot more enjoyable when I had a good stockpile of them available to use. And that's because there are 3 different types of Kidmar tokens which can be individually spent with 3 separate factions, with merchant tokens being used to hire merchant groups so you can blend in with them and access restricted areas, as well as being able to purchase discounts at vendors and even open restricted chests just with that one merchant token. We then have the scholar tokens, which you can use to pay musicians to distract the guards, as you can see here. And when I used it a few times, it does seem to have a very large aggro radius, which is a very good thing. It can also be used as a currency to buy maps from the cartographer vendor, but I wasn't allowed to visit that vendor in my playthrough, unfortunately. And thirdly, the power tokens, which can be used to hire mercenaries to attack local guards, and they absolutely steamroll enemy NPCs. So a big recommendation from me here, as it's an incredibly advantageous distraction because they literally clear the whole area or way for you. Now, you can also use these power tokens to bribe those heralds, or manandi as they're called in game, to completely wipe your notoriety meter in one go, which is another good use if you've had enough of the game swarming you with enemies. But another reason why these tokens are so valuable, all 3 of them I mean, is because you can use them during missions and crucial assassination events, which makes the missions arguably a lot more enjoyable, as well as skipping whole side quest missions by just handing over one of these tokens to NPCs straight away, instead of doing a kind of fetch quest for them, who are then more happy or more obliged to give you a clue to then help you progress your investigation in identifying one of your key in-game targets. Now, the game says the best way to obtain these tokens is by completing contracts in your bureaus, side world quests, and main missions. But what I found to be the most effective way to get these tokens quickly was to simply walk around the main bazaar marketplace and just pickpocket everyone I saw using Eagle Vision. This mini game, by the way, is just about timing your button presses within the diamond icon to be successful with your pickpocket, and you'll then remain unnoticed. But if you do miss, the NPC you're trying to steal from will call for a guard. But when successful, this also has the added advantage of generating a lot of valuable items, which you can then sell to a vendor for a huge amount of silver that you can then use to buy different armor, cosmetics, and dyes. But more on that later, because if you are enjoying the video so far, please do leave a very swift like down below. So thanks very much for your support. And if you've got a question about Mirage, please do leave a comment at the end of this video, as I'm going to make a follow-up new video answering as many of your questions as I possibly can about this game, as Ubisoft have kind of given me a free rein in that regard. So make sure if you've got a question, make sure you get it down below, and hopefully I'll squeeze it into that next video. Now, even though I can't show you the whole world map menu, I can re-show you the map picture from the dev diaries and elaborate by saying that there isn't too much more than what you can see here, but there is a surprisingly large amount of land to explore outside of the city than I expected, which was really welcome. Unfortunately, I was only able to visit the mount vendor outside one of the gates of the walls until the devs watching me in Bordeaux saw me trying to sneak out of the city and reeled me back inside. But the mount vendor does offer us a selection of 15 mounts and 3 eagle skins to purchase with your silver, by the way, so a decent selection there. But what I would say, while on the topic of mounts, is that you can firstly hijack camels or horses off civilians who are riding them in the city, almost like a 9th century GTA mechanic, which was cool. But I wouldn't recommend riding a mount in the city, and the reason for that is because it was slow, not terribly responsive, and because of the density of Baghdad's design and narrow streets, it ended up being a lot slower to use the mount than just running along the rooftops, which makes sense as that's how they just want us to traverse in this game. And while you're actually riding the mount, I tried to throw projectiles or use weapons, which I couldn't do, and I also couldn't seem to dismount like in previous AC games where you could stand on your horse and then jump off. So minimal amount of mount development here, I feel, compared to other games, but the medieval camel and horse cosmetic skins, they do look good. Incidentally, you can use canal boats, which I found useful at certain times while navigating Baghdad, but just so you know, you still can get attacked on them and one-shotted by that elite Shadow Bassin bounty hunter who ends up pursuing you, as you can see here. That's what happened to me, which one of the developers actually found hilarious as I tried to get away. There's also a lot of in-game historical locations which you can interact with and look like white glowing animus orbs, which provide provide you with more context on what's happening at Baghdad inside and outside the city in that time period, as well as being able to pet cats, of course, which returns here from Valhalla. Now, what about armor, gear, weapons, and customization? Well, I think it's a lot better than what we had recently in Valhalla, because we can actually change the appearance of our robes right in the infantry menu, so there's no need to fast travel back to base to then change your robes. And unfortunately, I can't show you this new infantry menu according to Ubisoft, but I can use a developer diary trailer clip here from a few weeks ago and then discuss the new menu from my experience, which I will do for you now. But just so you know, nothing has changed from this dev diary infantry to the recent playtest infantry. I'm not sure why Ubisoft are saying we can't show it, but there we are. We've got to abide by the embargo rules. And I think it's important to distinguish the differences between the outfit and the costume first, as it does get a little confusing initially, as they seem to be one and the same. But the outfit is the most important one here, as this is your armor set essentially that also has a perk attributed to it that increases its capabilities to a maximum of 3 levels. So it kind of improves at every level. So you can upgrade it 3 times at this local tailor by trading in resources, which again, I can't show you right now in the infantry menu, but you'll just have to take my word for it. And most importantly, you'll also need to provide a tailor with a schematic or recipe that allows you to upgrade that specific armor set, with these schematics being found all around the world in chests and of course on NPCs. Now, this is where the outfit dye comes in, because you can equip this armor set and then subsequently change the color of it to something more of your liking. You can also buy unique dyes for specific armor sets from vendors, which only apply to that armor set and not to all of your other armor sets. So that's a nice detailed touch from the devs there. But what about costumes? Well, think of them as your transmog feature, where it completely overrides your outfit choice and its dye choice, but it does not affect the stats of your outfits or its perks. So in this example, equipping the Master Assassin costume overrides the Initiate of Alama outfit in terms of appearance, and that's when you get the hidden icon on your outfit panel. Incidentally, you can obtain costumes from quest rewards and from the online MTX store when it does launch. But as for talismans, they are just cosmetic items that hang off your back essentially as a means of identification, with more being found in chests and purchased from vendors around the world, with the sword and dagger weapons operating in the same manner as the outfit, where each weapon has a different perk on it, and you can enhance that perk by 3 levels by upgrading it at the blacksmith if you have the correct resources and schematics to do so. Incidentally, the blacksmith is the only place where you can transmog or change the look of your sword and dagger. You can't actually do that in the infantry menu like the costume, which I find quite bizarre really as to why that's the case. I don't know why that they haven't implemented that, but there we go. Now, another big mechanic in this game is the investigation board, which I can't show you again in detail, unfortunately, as Ubisoft wants to keep that locked down for now. But I can show you this limited amount of B-roll that they have told me is okay to use and to show you. And if you've played the Wrath of the Druids expansion in Valhalla, then this will look familiar to you, because you'll need to collect clues to progress quests, which upon completion of those quests will then identify targets that you'll then need to kill to subsequently unlock a major target that contributes to the Order of the Ancients grip on the city of Baghdad, and that will then show in this investigation menu. And when that does show, that's when you can then start a black box mission. So it's essentially following the breadcrumbs here, where you can speed up this process by spending those tokens with certain quest individuals that will then provide you with a clue instantly if you just spend a token with them, which is worth doing in my opinion if you've pickpocketed the whole of Baghdad and you're not really interested in completing a standard quick fetch quest for them in game. Now, I also had the pleasure of sitting down one-on-one with the narrative director, Sarah Bellew, who gave me a lot of exclusive info, which hasn't yet been spoken about anywhere else at the time of recording. So click the video on your screen right now if I've uploaded it already, and hopefully see you there in a second. But if I haven't uploaded it yet, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on your notification bell, because it will be coming very soon and you won't want to miss all of that info. I also want to thank the Ubisoft team, specifically Silvia, Calum, Steph, and Whitney, as well as all of the amazing people I met in Ubisoft Bordeaux. My additional thanks to Nika for helping me with this AC coverage. Coffee is on all of them, and I'll see you in that next video.